Welcome back to DS Trucks. So it's been requested that I show you guys the PowerPoint that is on my dashboard along with the phone mount. I thought I showed this, but maybe I didn't. But someone requested me explaining how the PowerPoint has been installed here up in the tray, up here where I have power added to my tray. Hopefully that's showing up. See if I can turn the camera. How did I get power in this location to get plugged into my phone right there, right up on the dash? How did I do it? Now, it's been requested. How did I wire it and all that? So number one, you've got to take off this panel, just like when you install the Built Right setup. You've got to take off this panel. I do have a video of me taking this panel off. So if you need that video, I will link it up here somewhere, up on the top of the screen somewhere, so that you can see how to remove that panel. Now, the rest of this install goes underneath the dashboard. So I've got to pull this panel off. Let me pull this off and I'll touch base with you once it's removed. All right, guys, so with this panel pulled down, you have these little white clips, and I believe they changed these to like these green ones. These green ones represent the ones that broke. Sometimes when you pull this off, they tend to break. So I did break one here, so I've got to replace it. But basically, to install this, to get power to this, you can see we have some wiring right here. It's taped down onto the bottom of this panel. And when you look in here, you can see that the black wire has a eyelet tied into it that bolts to the metal here. I did put some tape around this corner because there's a sharp edge. I didn't want anything to get chafed. So I've taped this sharp edge and this sharp edge here. You can see there's some black vinyl tape to take the sharp edges away, because that'll actually cut into your wiring, the sharp edges that are just unfinished edges. You look here, these are real sharp. So I covered up the sharp edges where I have wires running, and I added an eyelet way up in there, if you could see that. The black wire has an eyelet. There's a pre-existing hole, so our black wire has one eyelet added. The camera wants to look at that onto this metal plate, if you can see that. So not interfering with any of this OEM screws or anything. I actually just found a hole. It's right next to another ground strap, way in there. You can see that eyelet. Now for the power. Now for power, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. Let's just kind of push this up so it's out of the way. Now to get 12 volts, constant 12 volts to that particular item up on the dashboard, basically what I did is I tied into our mirror spotlight module. So let me reset this camera so that you can see what I did. So when you look at this mirror spotlight module, there is a wire in this setup here. This is actually the wire from Limitless. It actually allows you to, this gray one here allows you to have your mirror spotlight modules turn on at any time, engine on or engine off, or driving down the road. So there's a jump wire that jumps around the factory setup to allow the mirror spotlights to turn on at any time. Now the thing about the mirror spotlight module is, before this harness right here reaches the module, it has a few different wires on it with constant 12. Now the one wire that I grabbed has constant 12 on it, and it is in here. It's a little bit heavier. So basically I tied into the wire that has constant 12. I think there's two in here that had constant 12, but I grabbed the bigger one. I tied into it, tapped into it, and I'm kind of running a risk, because if this circuit can't handle the extra draw being put on it by this modification, then it's gonna blow a fuse. But so far, you know, I've been okay. Resecure this. So far I've been okay. I've been really testing the system out and I haven't had any problems with fuses blowing or anything. Now, if I were installing a different kind of power point, this power point only has cell phone chargers on it, so it's not gonna have a real big draw of power. But if you're gonna install like a cigarette lighter, like maybe one of these where you could put anything into it, like any device, I would not use the mirror spotlight module. What I would do in that situation is I would tie directly into the battery. I would use a heavy enough gauge wire with at least a 20 amp fuse, maybe bigger, and I would pass through. Now you could use a pass-through wire if there's one that's heavy enough, or you could just pass the wire through the firewall. But there's a bundle of wires under here that have a pass-through. On this truck, there's also a 20 amp fused wire coming out of the upfitter switch bundle that will be hot whenever the engine's on. But this is nice because this charges with the engine off, with the truck completely off, with everything off. You can see that the mirror spotlight module still gets 12 volts and it's still charging the phone. So this works out good. I can charge multiple different devices at a time. I can charge my drone controller, I can charge my phone, and I can charge my headphones. And I did put it through the paces and try to charge multiple items at once to make sure that it's not going to have any problems. I've tested it with the mirror spotlight module on, and it's not overwhelming the circuit. So you do run the risk of overwhelming the circuit because you are adding to a circuit. Now, the circuit is fused from the factory and all that, so it should have the protection for the wiring and all that. But that being said, it is still running a risk. At best case scenario, it could potentially blow a fuse, but worst case, I don't know, maybe something else could go wrong. But so far from my own testing, this isn't something that I'm necessarily recommending, but yeah, this is kind of how we did it. So phone mount, unplug it. You can grab it one hand, works great with one hand. This is a motorcycle mount from, who makes this? Tacform.
I found a few locations for motorcycle mount here.
Tacform mount and camera mount. So this is how I do the in-truck videos, the camera mounted. But that's pretty much it, guys. This is DS Trucks. That is how I got 12 volt constant on my dashboard. You could use the same 12 volt constant for a number of different things. Things like dash cameras, things that have a low draw. That would be the perfect spot to just grab 12 volts, in my opinion. Now, as far as the ignition wire, you can actually get the ignition wire down here on the right side. If you pull that off, there's a wire that is hot whenever the key is on. Right in the bundle that comes through your firewall, there's an ignition wire. You don't gotta mess with the fuse box. You don't gotta mess with tap fuses or anything. There is an ignition wire that you can power anything that you want. It's a signal wire. It's not meant to hold the entire load or anything. It's just a signal wire that will trigger everything on to turn on. So if you wanted to put a GPS in here and hide it somewhere, then you could put that in here somewhere and you could trigger wire it so that it runs, which is what we have that somewhere. It's not actually wired in there, but that's somewhere in this truck. There's those ignition wires exist throughout the truck, but that one there is the main one. Then you have the power down here, and you can do some interesting stuff, dash cameras, things like that. Just a good source of constant 12 is down here at the spotlight module. Now, it's not that much harder to just run a wire through the firewall or something like that if you wanted to. This does not take advantage of the upfitter switches. That is totally separate. But check this out, guys. If you're interested in the electrical stuff, we have videos installing this 3000 watt inverter. So check out the channel, check those out. This thing is incredibly powerful. But anyway, guys, that's it for today's video. This is DS Trucks. My name is Sean. If you are looking for Hot Shot Secrets products, codename DS-Trucks on hotshotsecrets.com. Save 10%. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time. Over and out.